The power of sustainability, being able to create a lasting legacy and imprint, is actually for us to look at local solutions to drive global development and the importance of community-driven systems.
Hi everyone, back to Sustainable Talks with Dan and Anne.
Almost 3 years we didn't do this, but this is a great comeback, I have to say.
We became a little bit older, so I have less hair than 3 years ago.
Yeah, same here. We restart our Sustainable Talks with NNN with two great contributors, Kerry and Valentina. Can you guys introduce yourself?
First of all, thank you so much for having us for your relaunch, and we're very excited to be here with you in your community. I'm Kerry Bannigan. I'm the president of the board of the Public Foundation and the co-founder of the UN Fashion Lifestyle Network.
Amazing.
Nice to meet you, Kerry.
And I also want to say thank you so much for having us here today. I am very excited about this. My name is Valentina Marschik, and I am the Cultural Programming and Special Events Coordinator at Public Foundation and the Program Lead of the United Nations Fashion and Lifestyle Network, which we will be talking about today.
Wow, that sounds very cool, Nico.
I think we step it up in our guest list, right?
There's a reason why we came back, right?
We are growing up.
Feel more responsible, I think. And we have seen the email from Valentina approaching to us, saying, look, like your podcast, we like your stories. What about if we share our story and our project with you guys? With Nico was like, Nico, we receive a lot of this email, right?
Totally.
Even after 2-3 years, we still receive this email, but it takes a lot of time, a lot of effort to do all of this. We still have the passion, but we said, I think this is the right time to come back, Nico.
Let's go in deep, Kerry and Valentina background. So a question that we always have in Sustainable Talks is, what's sustainability for you?
Sustainability is about creating systems and infrastructure that can have that lasting legacy of economic, social, and environmental impact. I think as I've grown in my journey of sustainability, and I feel many of us go through this, we see big ideas, big pictures, but we also know that it is so difficult to get the backing on a global scale for large innovations. And so one of the things that I've learned on my sustainability journey, that the power of sustainability, being able to create a lasting legacy and imprint, is actually for us to look at local solutions to drive global development and the importance of community-driven systems.
That's a great start. And what about you, Valentina?
My story with sustainability started back in high school, actually. I graduated with the International Baccalaureate, and that itself has a really in-depth focus on sustainability as a whole. And in my bachelor's degree, as in my master's thesis, I also focus both of those on sustainability. And then having worked with the UN Fashion and Lifestyle Network for 3 years now, which I can't believe it's already been so long, I have seen that there are so many incredible solutions out there. And the importance is to showcase these solutions and to educate generations of the importance of sustainability within everyday practices.
Love the fact of education, right? That's why we start Sustainable Talks. It's all about that. To take the right decision in sustainability, we need to be educated. It's very difficult to be educated in this field, especially if you go more in deep. I'm interested, you reach out to us, Valentina and Kerry. You mentioned about United Nations Fashion and Lifestyle Network, and you share with us the work you are doing. And for us, it was something new because we are more on the field of product development, materials, and so on. It's great to see that there's something behind that. So I was wondering if you can share a little bit about this program. When was established, the purpose of having this?
For many years, two of the most influential forces that are shaping global culture and behavior were literally unfolding in parallel, but very disconnected. So every September, you have New York Fashion Week, which literally transforms Manhattan into a global stage for creativity, culture, and commerce. But then actually during the same month, across the other side of the city, you've got the UN General Assembly convening heads of state, global leaders and so forth to talk about the global sustainability agenda and the future of the planet. And myself was talking to a colleague, Lucia Brigham, who is with the United Nations Office for Partnerships. And we kept talking about the little meaningful exchange between these two worlds, and yet so powerful in the same place in a very influential city, and how we could bring these together and what that could look like. The reality is fashion and lifestyle was extremely absent from formal sustainable development discussions, even though the industry intersects with nearly every, although I could be as bold to say, actually every SDG, known as the Sustainable Development Goals. And fashion and lifestyle, as we know it, does touch virtually every human life. And Lucia and I kept looking at how that disconnect could be bridged. What could this look like and what could it mean? And so for us, our beginning steps was actually between 2018 and 2021. We began responding to this through something that we named the Conscious Fashion Campaign. And this was in collaboration with the UN Office for Partnerships. And the whole goal there was really to meet the industry where it's already gathering. But what could we bring as further learning, responsibility, and action, but with the most important part, without judgment? And how could we drive clarity around impact? And so the Conscious Fashion Campaign ended up partnering with major global fashion textile platforms, including Kingpins for the denim industry, Messe Frankfurt, London, and Transformers Education. And in that, just to also share depth and breadth of these communities and platforms and conveners, these partners together represented more than 800 annual events across 40 countries, reaching over 12 million industry attendees, as well as having over 136,000 fashion, textile, and lifestyle businesses. And so for us, it was not about recreating the wheel or coming up with another project. It was more about how can we drive education, which we all mentioned earlier, the importance of this. How can we drive education and engagement into the places that the industry already have trusted spaces to connect? And so that's where we started. In 2021 and 2022, we actually extended that momentum from dialogues and convenings into launching a New York Fashion Week digital billboard activation, where we thought there was a big gap as well in sustainability. And that was highlighting female entrepreneurs that were driving sustainable fashion innovations. And so we would feature global female founders across these prominent locations, think of Times Square billboards and so forth. And that reached over 1.5 million people. As this was all happening, and it was a lot of visibility, a lot of dialogue, a lot of convening, even though the response was immediate to what we were doing, we then realized there was a lot more questions that were happening. This interest then stemmed for, where can I sign up? Where do we meet beyond this convening? Where can we learn and share best practices? And the bigger question being, how can we connect further with the United Nations? How can we collaborate with the UN agencies within that system? Think for fashion, UN Women, UN Development Program, UN Environment, all of these speaking to what the industry is trying to achieve in impact. And so what we decided from there was it was very clear what we were doing in driving awareness and education was no longer sufficient. The industry was seeking infrastructure, long-term continuity, also a stable point of connection, where the biggest thing being shared practices were going to be something that they could access whilst connecting within the UN system. And that then actually informed the blueprint for the network. And I'll hand over to Valentina to share a bit more there. But that's the background of the origin and the adaptable journey that we were taking.
Yeah, thank you so much for this. And Valentina.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to share now a little bit about purpose. So the network itself is a collaborative initiative of the UN partnerships that Kerry mentioned before, and the Fashion Impact Fund through Public Foundation, as well as the UN Department for Economic and Social Affairs. And the UN Industrial Development Organization is actually a long-term supporting partner of the network. And you might ask yourself, now, okay, what does the network serve? It serves as a global multi-stakeholder platform advancing sustainable development through fashion and lifestyle. And it brings together multiple different areas of the industry, such as public institutions, academia, media, as well as the private sector. And at its core, the network really functions as a hub for education, which we mentioned earlier, innovation, and then obviously as well action. We connect change makers across multiple different regions and disciplines, elevate credible and impactful initiatives, and provide structured access to the UN system, along with a very global platform for campaigns, events, as well as for cross-sector collaboration. In doing so, we enable our members to learn from existing solutions, exchange insights, and share best practices amongst each other. They can be adapted and scaled across contexts. Ultimately, the purpose of the network is to translate awareness into actual implementation, ensuring that fashion and lifestyle are not only part of this sustainable conversation, but are actively contributing solutions and accelerating collective impact as a whole.
That's a great explanation of your guys of your project and what you guys are doing on the day-to-day base. I have a question. So we talk about the network, but we talk about community too. So how much are important community, the networks?
The network is a community, and from the beginning, this was not built as something to be imposed from top down. This, from the beginning to where we are now and daily, it is shaped to grow from the ground up, and it truly is informed by the people who are our members. These are the people that are designing, making, teaching, investing, reporting, advocating. There's so many roles to be played in this sector, right? And the community is also where ideas can be challenged. Our network members are able to approach each other, take new forms, share their solutions, share the systems that they're using. They also get to, I would say one of the biggest things for us is where the impact moves from intention into practice, just echoing what Valentina was just saying. And the reality is the network does not just sit alongside that community. It is literally formed by it and informed of how it moves today and into the future.
Yes, I 100% agree with Kerry. The surrounding community is central to the network. From my perspective, the network exists because of its members. It is shaped by the work that they're doing every day, advancing sustainable development through their different practices. And without that community, there would be no meaningful impact to support or amplify. One of our most important roles is to create a space that community can be seen and heard in. And through our conversations, we frame the network as a platform to bring members into conversations with industry leaders, policymakers, media, and peers. And this is especially powerful during moments such as our annual meeting, which takes place every year at the United Nations headquarters in New York, where our members are invited to share what they have built, exchange lessons, and connect directly with global decision makers. And by bringing the community into these spaces, we move beyond simply convening conversations to actively elevating real work and real leadership. We also highlight our members across every edition of our newsletter. We started this newsletter back in August, and we share our member updates through there, highlight upcoming and past events, feature all of our new members so that they're visible to the wider community from the moment that they join the network. And then alongside that, we curate roundtables at high-level UN moments and online sessions that connect members across regions. And these regular touch points help sustain collaboration, learning, and exchange really throughout the entire year.
Yeah, and I just want to add to that actually is this is the sense that we mean. The community is not simply supporting the network, it is the network and it's the driving force behind it. And for us running the platform and providing this platform space, our impact truly is measured by how effectively we support and spotlight members' work, not only with our opportunities at high-level UN convenings, the newsletter, and so forth, but also industry connections and keeping them together across the ecosystem, and how we can also transform individual efforts of our community members into global shared momentum as well.
The community, I think it's the key word, right? After education, the community is the second key word. And that's also with Nico, base all our work on networking and on community. And we see that the community that you create in sustainability are true people, are people that really are passionate about it. They are not just coming because it's a trend, but they really believe on it and they spend time on it and really want to contribute. So I think it's one of the most powerful community you can create around sustainability. One thing I want to ask, so you mentioned about newsletter, first of all. Can people sign up to your newsletter, Valentina?
The newsletter goes to our entire network. So in order to sign up to the newsletter, you would have to be part of the network. And that is actually a pretty interesting process. And I'm happy to share a little bit about that.
Yeah, because that was my next question. How can people get into your network?
Of course. When we look at initiatives, size is really not a deciding factor on if they become members of the network, for instance. That's what a lot of people always ask us. What matters most is clarity of purpose, substance, and genuine commitment to sustainability. So organizations can join the network through an open application process. This process is designed to be accessible while also ensuring alignment with the network's values and the UN framework. The network application itself can be found on un.org, and the application follows 5 steps and helps us to understand what an initiative does, where it operates, who it works with, and how it delivers impact. It also looks at how sustainability is built into daily work and how the initiative aligns with the Sustainable Development Goals as a whole. And at its core, we're looking for ongoing commitment rather than one-off actions. Strong applications clearly explain their mission, show sustainability in practice, demonstrate collaboration, and points to real outcomes through the fashion and lifestyle sectors. I would say the focus is definitely on meaningful work that is already underway and positioned to grow even larger.
I would like to go to the next question that sparked my mind. What are the best achievements that you guys have achieved so far?
Our achievements truly are based on the members' successes and the hard work that they're doing in our community. I do want to share that today the network connects over 400 members across 139 countries. When I reflect on the network's journey so far, there's so many achievements that stand out, and truly, again, they are shaped alongside our members. For example, from Catherine, Princess of Wales, presenting the Queen Elizabeth II Award for British Design to network member Patrick McDowell in 2025, honoring his sustainable practices. Then there was also a network member who is the founder of The Revival, being named as one of the 100 most influential climate leaders by Time magazine. And then another example, jumping around, they are all global. We have network member Collective Fashion Justice, who's recently very proudly supported fellow network member Council of Fashion Designers of America in a fur-free policy at New York Fashion Week alongside Humane World for Animals. And this decision actually follows London Fashion Week's earlier move to prohibit the use of fur and wild animal skins. We also had, most recently, network member Lagos Fashion Week was named a winner of the Earthshot Prize in the Build a Waste-Free World category, and the team there received £1 million in recognition of its pioneering work in sustainable fashion, which is no small feat. We also have examples of projects where we collaborate with network members themselves. The UN Office for Partnerships worked with Polymoda in Florence through the network to curate a series of classes, and we also then included network members sharing their expertise, and they were delivering these masterclasses. Another one last year, we saw the launch of the first sustainable UN tour guide uniforms at UN headquarters in New York City. And this was a major collaborative effort across the UN Department of Global Communications, our partner and collaborator, the UN Office for Partnerships. We had one of our advisory members, Sophia Hedstrom de Leo, and then also together with the Swedish government, University of Borås, Paul Frankinus Foundation, and the arm of the Swedish University of Fashion Textiles. And that just shows our collaborative nature to bring a cohort together to give an opportunity to 20 students to design this collection. The collection came to life and through each of these partners, and there was a fashion show to unveil it at the United Nations, followed by a reception and also educational panels at the Swedish consulate in New York. And to this day, when you go to New York UN headquarters, you will be shown around and greeted by the UN tour guides wearing these sustainable uniforms.
Yeah, that was definitely
Fantastic.
one of our absolute biggest highlights. Some other milestones for the network were, for instance, during the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly in 2025, where we showcased network members in a series of discussions that reflected the diversity, reach, and depth of our community. For instance, at the SDG Media Zone, we hosted panels that highlighted circular design, storytelling, ethical entrepreneurship, and speakers included network members Christina Dean from Redress, Kau Collective, Jan Burgas and Fashion House, and Isa Buko, as well as a fireside with Saint Sintra and the UN Office of Partnerships. And then beyond the media zone, Network Member Council of Sustainable Fashion Designers of Grenada joined the Goals Lounge to discuss how to drive local solutions. And then network member Manuela Alvarez spoke about education and ancestral craft at the IBRO. And these panels demonstrate how the network elevates members through its leadership, connects organizations across sectors, and translates local expertise into a global dialogue.
Wow.
They're waiting the invite for the next UN Assembly. We will come over to.
Absolutely. We would love that.
But look, now share a lot of achievement, amazing achievement, actually. It's really impressive to share with us and what you can manage. But I'm sure you put a lot of real effort on that. And I'm sure it was not always easy. Like when we talk about 2020, 2022, after COVID time, everybody was talking about sustainability without knowing what it is. We start also this on these waves. We also start sustainable talks, Nico.
Yes, from our apartments.
And then after that, it was losing a little bit. Let's say at least the industry lost a
The
little
steam.
bit. Exactly, and even slowing down a little bit. There is still that horizon, but seems like it's not important anymore. But I think we want to. This is a long journey, right? Sustainability is a long journey. Is no way back. It's not. I think this trend bring you difficulties to go on. How do you face the difficulties that come along the way?
One of the main challenges really is closing the gap between cultural influence and real structural change. Fashion as we know it here is fast, it's highly responsive, while sustainability actually depends on long-term thinking, a lot of coordination, and even more patience. And so I think when we're looking at these challenges, which they change, they're always there, but what does it look like on the parameters as we monitor this? And many of the most promising ideas, as I mentioned earlier, are really coming from local and community-led initiatives. And yet these are the efforts that often struggle so much to access funding, infrastructure, and long-term support. Another challenge that we see is ensuring that sustainability does not remain only a story. So like you've mentioned, it came up, it was rather a buzzword for quite some time without true definition or meaning or results. And so that's where it's so important to actually look at how culture is powerful in shaping these narratives. But these narratives do need to be matched by action, measurement, and accountability. And I think, though, at the same time, and so much of our work has been embedded in this for decades, is how culture is our greatest strength. And when you look at fashion and lifestyle and media and art and music, the list goes on. Just like those, fashion has the ability to make new behaviors feel normal and almost desirable. And so our role is to work at the pace of culture whilst also trying to shape it and change that narrative, whilst also helping to build systems that really can drive change to last.
Yeah, and I agree with Kerry. Culture gives us a certain momentum, but the real test we're facing right now is whether we can convert that momentum into a shared system that works at scale. If we don't bridge that gap, sustainability risks solely staying inspirational rather than it being operational. And the actual challenge that we're facing now is turning that influence into infrastructure and ensuring that the change we celebrate culturally is the same change we measure, fund, and hold ourselves actually accountable for.
Nico, great talks, right?
Yeah, and scalability, that's you touched the point, right? Scalability is the difficult part. There's a lot, we met a lot of entrepreneurs, Nico. We spoke a lot of people who are doing mushroom, mycelium leather, that only few, maybe only one is still alive, right?
Yes.
Of
Yeah,
all the
yeah, no,
people
no,
we spoke with.
scalability, especially material scalability, economic scalability, it's the big question. And how do we translate the great innovation into mass consumer product? That's where the gap is today.
And I think also a huge part there is changing the mindset of your traditional investor, that wealth distribution into these things, the rate of return has to be seen differently. The metrics and the mindset understanding has to change to understand metrics of impact are very different on your rate of return to typical investing and what that looks like in technology and innovations and so forth, especially when they sit under the sustainable development arm.
This is the first time we do this, Nico.
Yeah,
It's not going to be only this session, but we are going to follow up with some of the initiatives that Kerry and Valentina work on. We identify a couple of them, and we are going to reach out to them and have also a follow-up talk with them to also allow them to share their experience, how they did this work and what they achieved. So that can be also an example and education and inspire also people to go in the same direction, Nico.
yeah, correct. And this is the first step. Great return, I have to say. I'm very happy to be here back. And thank you, Kerry. Thank you, Valentina, for the great experience you share with us and the great work you're doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us, and congratulations again on your relaunch.
Bye.